We had a previously scheduled contracts and leases committee. We have canceled that committee. And on our ordinance committee, we do have the Fire Protection District Building Inspections Ordinance 2025-17, and we have the Chief of Woodford County Fire Department, Melvin Montgomery, here, along with their counsel, Mr. Chris Hoskins. And I know, Mr. County Attorney, that you have worked with Mr. Hoskins in the Fire District on the proposed ordinance. Is everything in order for a potential first reading this evening?
There is, Judge, and Chris, did you get my last? That I had inquired about, you had inquired about that change being made? It was made.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the one, so Jordan sent us.
Mind to turn on your mic, Mr. Hoskins, please?
Yes. Jordan, the court clerk sent us one, and the only thing I noticed was that, it was C2,
yes.
Alan, and it was supposed to be revised to any property owner fails to comply.
It's complete.
That's in there?
I took your exact language and put it in there.
Perfect, great. Yeah, and that, just so everyone's on the same page. So I sent a draft, the county attorney had some changes, and then I went back and looked at it, and I had more changes. You know, the attorney always has to have the last word after the reviewing documents, but it was really just to clean up both mostly on the procedure, and the procedure is that the local inspector here, it'll be the fire department, is deemed a deputy fire marshal, not deputy state fire marshal. That's what the state fire marshal advised, but they're deemed a deputy fire marshal by the state fire marshal's office. And then once that occurs, once that commissioning occurs, then this ordinance will allow them to serve as that deputy fire marshal. And there is one provision in here I wanted to mention, and it's A6. And this was not in the draft that I previously sent you all, but the statute, the intent of this ordinance is to apply generally to commercial building inspections. And the statute says that it does not apply to single family dwellings or residential dwellings unless the fiscal or the legislative body advises that they wish to extend in an ordinance. There are ordinances out there that do extend. Here it's drafted as to not extend. Because I don't think the intent of it is for you all to go inspect every single house in Woodford County, right? It is not necessary. It's not a moneymaker by any means. It's not a windfall. It's really about protection and trying to get these insurance rates down. I think that it's like $100, or you can charge $100 for a follow-up inspection, and maybe escalating if there's recurring violations. And you'll see the penalty, the monetary penalty is not terribly significant, but those would be returned ultimately to the inspector through this. It goes to the state, and then it's ultimately distributed to the entity that inspects, which here would be the fire department. Melvin, do you have anything else to add there?
No. And Mr. County Attorney, I have had the opportunity to discuss this a few times with the chief and Mr. Hoskins as well. And, you know, one of the comments I made to the chief right before the meeting is when our local Woodford County Fire Department firefighters are doing this, more people are going to know them, recognize them. Local government's always better than the state, I say.
Yeah, yeah. And they have these folks still, they do, go to fire alarms, obviously, at businesses like Woodford Reserve, I give an example. This allows them to serve as the deputy fire marshal so that you would do routine inspections, right? Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Mr. County Attorney, anything additional?
No, Judge, and I will say, though, in fairness, when you said that we worked together, I basically took Mr. Hoskins' work product and tailored it for the fiscal court. So I appreciate, Chris, you doing that legwork.
Absolutely.
So.
Now it's on the record that it's my fault if there's issues.
No, I said that. These are matters that I'm not familiar
Right,
with,
right.
and thank you for familiarizing me with
absolutely.
that. But with that, I did make the change to C2 as
Right.
you wanted, so they have that. I believe, Jordan, you all were able to send that to all of them, so they have the final draft.
Perfect. Okay.
Well, as a fellow member of the bar, I reviewed it myself. I thought it was great work.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Members of the ordinance committee, do you all have any questions for the council or the chief? Seeing none? Oh, yeah, yeah.
I just want to thank Chief Montgomery and your staff for doing this. I think it's going to make our community better and citizens safer, and it's just a good oversight for our community to make them safer, and you have some ordinances to follow there. So thank you very much for that, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Squire Blackford. Anything additional from the fiscal court? Could I have a motion to recommend the first reading of ordinance 2025-17 fire protection district building inspections for the first reading at our fiscal court meeting?
Motion.
Motion by Squire Gill, second by Squire Blackford. Yeah. Any questions thereon? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. That motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you, and it should have no issue passing for first reading at fiscal court, so you are more than welcome to be excused, but also more than welcome to hang around. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you again, Chris.
We also need to recommend the proposed second readings of ordinance 2025-14 zoning map amendment for Joe Carroll Carter, 10351 and 10339 Clifton Road. Also, the second reading of ordinance 2025-15 zoning text amendments for Article 8 and 10. So for those two items, we've already had our first reading. I think that as far as the fiscal court has reviewed, does anybody have any questions or comments or any objections to recommending both of those to the fiscal court for approval? Seeing no objection, they'll be recommended to the fiscal court without objection from the committee. We also need to have the first reading of the ordinance 2025-18, the 20th supplement to the Code of Ordinances. Thank Madam Clerk for putting that together and getting that on the docket. I would request a motion to recommend to the court to hold the first reading of same.
Make a motion, Judge.
My motion by Squire Downey,
Second.
second by Squire Blackford. Seeing no questions, all those in favor, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that motion carries as well. That is the sum of our ordinance committee business to come before the court. I will say that we are reviewing the mapping or the addressing ordinance from Mapping Director Kenneth Johns. He's working on that with the county attorney, and it's got a lot of facets to it.
Yes, it does. And he wants to incorporate within it this manual, and we're working on that. That'll take a little time, but we're working on that.
And Madam Clerk, refresh my memory, we have shared the draft of that with the court, or?
Yes, what was.
So yeah. So the original, the draft, which obviously has some changes to come, is before you. I encourage you to look at that, ask any questions of Mr. Johns, and once we get the fully drafted first reading for prepared for a vote, we'll have it probably before the full fiscal court, unless we have additional ordinance committee items to come before us. Or if there's something significant we need to dig into in ordinance committee. Is there any other questions or comments regarding any ordinance committee business before we move on? Seeing none, I will deem this ordinance committee adjourned, and I would recommend that we take a brief recess before we convene the committee of the whole. Let me just check on some of our other members and check their availability. So for right now, we'll just say a 10-minute, it's not even a recess, we'll just call the committee of the whole to order in roughly 10 or so minutes. So we are adjourned from the ordinance committee, and we will reconvene in the committee of the whole to follow. Thank you all. governmental partnership agreement for the purchase and sale of 105 Industry Drive, which is the old Yokohama facility. And prior to this meeting, the Versailles City Council unanimously agreed to this agreement, as did the Woodford County Economic Development Authority. And my understanding is that there were no dissenting votes on any of those votes. I've worked closely with the EDA in particular in some of their requests. I would point to items 6.2 and 6.3, referencing the sale proceeds and the funding of the EDA. And the EDA, as the named party on the deed, and along with Lucas Witt, our economic development consultant, will be doing a lot of the legwork on the due diligence. And so we all came to an agreement that 5% of the sales proceeds, above and beyond any costs, would go to the EDA as part of their partnership. And the city and the county would split the 95% remainder of any sales proceeds. The main things that, for this partnership agreement, the main things that are important are that the main agreement that this court already approved with Yokohama for the purchase, this sets out the intergovernmental agreements between the city and the county and the EDA, and how everything will be set forth. Most of that has already been discussed by Lucas Witt in his presentation to us, and this just puts it all in writing. The upfront costs, as you all know, would be the earnest money. The earnest money would be a shared cost, 33% between each party. And the earnest money would be fully refundable within the first 6 months should the parties decide not to go forward with the purchase. At the end of the 6 months, there's an additional closing period of 6 months, at which time the earnest money would be a cost that would ultimately, if we were to not go ahead with the closing, the earnest money would remain with Yokohama, and that is set forth in this agreement. One of the things that was a discussion point was the termination clauses, and that's Article 5. And I'll just read those for some clarity. Should one party elect to terminate and exit this agreement before the 180-day due diligence period is complete, the remaining parties shall have the sole election of whether to proceed with the purchase and sale agreement. If they elect to proceed, the remaining parties or party may agree to assume the total financial costs and responsibility of the earnest money, due diligence costs, carrying costs, and other costs associated therewith, sharing those costs equally or assuming those costs wholly. And to understand that basically is that if the county were to exit this agreement pursuant to our out clauses, then we would not be out any funds in the first 180-day due diligence period, which we are currently in. We preserve our right to terminate the agreement, exit the purchase and sale agreement for no cause or any reason whatsoever. And then it sets forth how we proceed past termination as far as portions of earnest monies, due diligence costs, and other expenses that shall be returned to the said party to make them whole. Again, the sales proceeds is a big part of this. Any sale will go to refund any of the earnest monies to each party, and then the sale proceeds would then be applied to returning any and all costs paid by any party. And then the sale proceeds will be applied toward paying any and all debt obligations assumed by each party. And then, as I mentioned earlier, a 5% portion to the EDA, and the county and city splitting the remainder of that. So This is an extension of the original approval of the purchase agreement with Yokohama. The fiscal court would then have the ability to approve or disapprove of the bonding and borrowing. So the Woodford County Fiscal Court, this is 3-2 bonding and borrowing. The Woodford County Fiscal Court and Versailles City Council shall vote to approve any debt obligation before securing same. So the fiscal court still will have a vote on the debt obligation. We discussed the framework for vetting any potential buyer. And this is important. It's in Article 4, Section 1, that the property of the final sale would be based on factors including the number of jobs created or retained, the nature of the business and its alignment with our community values, the overall economic impact of the community, the physical, environmental, and aesthetic impact on the community and the neighborhood, and other relevant economic development factors as deemed appropriate by the parties. So it does set forth that we have a criteria for the EDA to vet and approve the final sale of the property, which is one of the main reasons for us entering into this partnership agreement and the purchase and sale agreement. And the due diligence process, as I mentioned, is already underway. Madam Clerk has included in the OneDrive many of the due diligence documents for your review. We can print those or have those available for your review at any time if you'd like to see those. So let me make sure that I've covered, what I think are the most important aspects of the document. So again, there will be another approval as it relates to any sort of bonding or borrowing of debt of the fiscal court. And then the fiscal court shall also, pursuant to Article 6, Section 1, the fiscal court shall be required to approve the closing statement. So there'll be 2 additional votes to proceed before anything is final in this deal, and or any vote to terminate or exit the purchase and partnership agreements. So now I'd like to open it up for any questions that anybody has about the intergovernmental partnership agreement as presented. Are there any questions or comments regarding the agreement? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the intergovernmental partnership agreement and authorize the judge executive to sign and execute the document.
I make motion, Judge.
Motion by Squire
Second.
Downey, second by Squire Taylor. Now I'd like to open up the floor for any discussion thereon. One thing I would say is that, and Lucas Witt, our economic development consultant, mentioned this, you don't ever enter into an agreement with the goal of exiting the agreement, but I want to make sure the fiscal court understands that both the out clauses that were provided to us in the purchase and sale agreement and the internal out clauses that we talked about with our partnership with the city and the EDA are formalized herein. There was some question and some discussion in the public as to whether or not we were bound and committed for any funds, specifically earnest monies in relationship to the agreement. And this just clarifies that so that some of the discussion that was had is clearly set forth in this agreement. And again, it had no nay votes from any of the voting members of the EDA or the city council. And I would strongly encourage the fiscal court to approve this agreement, to move forward in partnership with the EDA, and consider the fact that Woodford Countyans need jobs, that we lost a generational employer who employed nearly 300 people in the Yokohama facility. If you put that facility on the market, it could end up like a lead Vance with a candy inventory for Walmart that a trucking company leases, that we get very little residual revenue for both our county and our community in relationship to that warehousing business. Properties like 105 Industry Drive could easily be turned into warehousing. They could easily be turned into places where we don't have jobs attached to them. And the goal for this is to focus on economic development to bring in a good community partner and a business that will bring generational employment and good jobs and opportunities to our community. We don't have industrial land available to recruit businesses into this community at this time. The EDA recommended that we start looking at land to do that, and both the mayor and myself and the comp plan committee rejected that idea because we do not want to develop farmland for industrial land. So this is prime industrial infill development. Right now, we're moving forward with a grant application for the KPDI program with the state that could give us the opportunity for up to $2 million to add to our ability to purchase this facility. And so I really believe that we're in a good position to execute this intergovernmental partnership and to do so in a way that puts us in the driver's seat for jobs and opportunity. I think that I respect any disagreement on any of the things that I've discussed or even my position on this, but your vote does reflect this fiscal court's position on industrial development and bringing jobs and opportunity to the community. And given that there has not been any objection by the EDA or the City Council, I would hope that the fiscal court would see the value and benefit herein as well. Given that discussion, I'd open up the floor for any comments. Squire Gentry, sir.
Yes, my vote will reflect that we have a clear out clause, because I'm still worried about the economy later on. I'm willing to let it go a little further until our time runs out on that. So, like I said, we have a clear out clause.
That is correct, Squire Gentry, and I do respect and understand your concerns about the economy. I share those concerns. I do hope that some of the efforts, both the federal government at the state level, to reshore American jobs here in America will benefit us. Our proximity to Toyota and to the Blue Oval electric battery manufacturing plant in Glendale, Kentucky, I hope that those opportunities will create opportunities here for us in Woodford County. I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic. I do share your concerns, but I think that's the difficult part of this decision, is the economy itself is uncertain, it's shaky, and it could be creating a higher risk. But I think that, for example, this partnership agreement does protect the county and, frankly, the city and EDA from some of the risk therein. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, there's a motion on the table to approve the intergovernmental partnership agreement and to allow the judge executive to execute any and all documents related thereto. All those in favor, please vote and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Squire Taylor?
Aye.
Squire Gentry?
Aye.
Squire Warner?
Nay.
Squire Pearl? Aye. Squire Downing?
Aye.
Squire Blackford? Aye. Squire Gill?
Nay.
Let the record reflect that the motion carries. That being the total sum of the business to come before the committee of the whole, I will deem us adjourned. We will reconvene in full fiscal court at 5:30. Thank you.